Hello, everybody. Let's go. We got some good news today because there is some people that have messed up big time. And Trump has now directed the FBI, Homeland Security, to start targeting and hunting down these people who have been falsely swatting conservative media voices. We're talking about big names like Nick Sorter, Gunter Eagleman, Sean Farish. Guys, Bongino is about to lay into these people big time. Why? Because it's like almost once or twice a week that people are falsely claiming, calling the cops, getting the cops to come in with guns drawn and everything to these people's houses that have done nothing, and it's all conservative media voices. And this is just building on top of what's been happening to all the Tesla dealerships, to all the Tesla cars, guys. This is nuts, but they said enough is enough. We have to show them that we are going to hunt them down if they're going to do this, and we're going to make sure that they're held accountable to the highest law, to the highest extent of the law that allows them to do so. And I'm happy because I want to see these people be held accountable, because there's people that have lost their lives because of false swatting things that have happened like that. On top of that, Attorney General Pam Bondi, because I'm telling you guys what you're about to see next, it's getting real, has just issued a scathing court filing rejecting the notion from these judges, these federal judges like Judge Boasberg, that the judiciary is not superior to the President of the United States when it comes to foreign policy, and that they are ready to fight this wherever. But she said, there is no way that a federal district judge is going to overrule the President of the United States. And again, too, Trump is not messing around. This FAFO is literally happening right now. Trump suspended $175 million in federal funding that was supposed to go to UPenn University for over their policy allowing men to compete in women's sports. Guys, $175 million, and that's in just 1 year. They've lost it. You don't want to follow the executive orders, you're not going to get the federal money. On top of that, the European Union, guys, this is how much hypocrites, they are so hypocritical, it literally makes no sense. But the European Union just imported over $1 billion of Russian natural gas into the European Union for people to use. Now, this is the same country that's saying that we should have stuck beside Zelensky and not even talked with Putin. And now they're buying over $1 billion in natural gas. You cannot make this stuff up. On top of that, the ActBlue scandal, which y'all know the ActBlue is the Democratic campaign funding organization, the scandal is getting bigger and bigger. Where they are now that they are investigating this organization, more people are finding that their names are attached to multiple donations to the Democratic Party. And every one of these people is saying, I've never even donated to a campaign. And they're working to build a system, which we're going to show you on here, to check if your name was used to give to the Democratic Party using overseas funds. Guys, I'm telling you, the Democratic gravy train is coming to an end. We got a ton of breaking news to get into tonight. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, to all of our subscribers, to all of our viewers. Thank you so much for your support. I want to say thank you to all of our members of the channel. Guys, y'all are the best. Thank you so much for supporting us and giving back to charity. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation. We're so grateful for your support with us. And just want to say, if you don't mind doing a quick favor for us, guys, and hitting that thumbs up like button, we really appreciate your support. We're ready to get into this news, guys, because this is getting real, and it's about dang time.
You can't beat somebody with nobody. It basically means you can't beat someone on election day if you don't have a good candidate yourself. And for the past 4 months, the media has shamed you into thinking that Donald Trump didn't win a mandate on election day, and it doesn't really matter if he did. 75 million people voted for Kamala Harris, they tell us, and the election was actually very, very close. Oh, really? That's not what I remember happening. And apparently other people feel the same way. According to a CNN poll, when asked who the leader of the Democratic Party is, coming in first place was literally no one. 30% of Democratic voters think that no one is the leader of their party. Coming in second was AOC at 10%, and coming in third place was the woman who 75 million people voted for 4 months ago, Kamala Harris, and yet they continue to act like they won the election and not the other way around. And now the party that is anti-common sense is up in arms over Donald Trump deporting violent criminals who also happen to be here illegally. Take a look.
We already have tools that are available to remove undocumented violent people from our country. It is the fact that we can't trust this administration to actually use a scalpel, but instead they love to use a butcher knife on things. And so giving them this wide latitude to just kind of go across and just claim that anybody is anything is wrong. And so we do have courts, we do have processes, we do have laws, and we should just go ahead and use those.
Well, Jasmine, wouldn't you know it? You're exactly right. First time I've said that. We do have courts, and we do have processes, and we do have laws. But we also have very silly judges out there across this country who aren't really judges. They're Democrat activists wearing robes. Do you think it's a coincidence that this district court judge, James Bosberg, appointed by Barack Obama, then became a chief judge of the D.C. District Court under Joe Biden, do you think it's a coincidence that his daughter, Catherine, works at a place called Partners for Justice? It's a great name. There's little Catherine. It's a pro-illegal immigration organization funded almost entirely by USAID. I certainly don't think that's a coincidence. I think the Biden team made it a point to elevate judges that they knew would carry out their bidding. And that's exactly what's going on here. A district court judge no one's ever heard of who hates Donald Trump just did something no district court judge has ever done before, ever in U.S. history.
Certainly, I would think without question, the most unlawful order that any district court judge has issued in our lifetimes without even a close second. A district court judge has no authority to direct the national security operations of the executive branch. When you are dealing with questions of invasion and questions of alien enemy infiltration, as well as the expulsion of terrorist illegal aliens from the country. That's the president operating at the absolute apex of his constitutional authority.
It's also worth noting that the media reaction to Donald Trump using a law from 1798 is just foolish. I honestly think that they think that Donald Trump shouldn't use this law because it's from 1798, because it's old, like that means anything. The Bill of Rights, that dates to 1791. The U.S. Constitution dates to 1787. The Declaration of Independence dates to 1776, and the last time I checked, those documents are still pretty important. But when you read the headlines, day after day, the media can't believe that Trump is using an old law. The Associated Press, Trump invokes 18th century law. CBS, Trump invokes 1798 Alien Enemies Act. NBC, what to know about a 1798 law that Donald Trump is now using? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense when someone's arrested. Has someone ever asked what year the law that they're being charged with dates to? I don't think anyone's ever asked that. Murder in this country formally became against the law in 1794. Are people going to start saying murder's okay because the law's old? That argument makes absolutely no sense. But for the dishonest media, none of that matters.
There are U.S. citizens of Venezuelan descent who are worried that they're going to be targeted, wrongly accused of being members of Tren de Aragua, deported without evidence, without a hearing.
A lot of them are my friends, are my neighbors. They live in Miami, and what he is doing to Venezuelans is disgusting. But you know what? You voted for that. You're finding out.
We have to be prepared for the racial profiling of Latino boys ages 14 to 18 who right now have that.
You can't make this crap up, guys. This is as insane as it gets, and the people that watch this need to have their brain analyzed that we deport gang members, criminals, and now they're like, check to make sure that your cousins. Guys, I'm of Hispanic descent. What? They're just going to start profiling people to deport them out of the United States just because they're Venezuelan or whatnot? No, This is how far they're taking it. It is mind-blowing. You cannot make this stuff up, guys. If you appreciate that we're finally getting the truth out there, guys, hit that thumbs up like button. But this is just insane.
Conversation with your kids, because they need to know their rights.
Oh, now we got to talk to our kids.
Of what this president is doing.
What are they talking about? The truth is, the executive branch has every right to use any law they want, from 1798 or any other year, if they think it's going to make the American people safer. And this law shouldn't be any different. So according to the Alien Enemies Act, here's the text. Again, it's from 1798. It shall be lawful for the president at any time to order all such aliens he shall judge dangerous to the peace and safety of the United States, or shall have reasonable grounds to suspect in any treasonable or secret machinations against the government thereof, to deport out of the territory of the United States. It makes perfect sense, meaning nothing Donald Trump did should be controversial. But it's interesting to note that the Alien Enemies Act only applies to non-U.S. citizens, which explains a whole lot about why FDR didn't deport all those Japanese American citizens that he put in camps during the Second World War. Thousands of them. They were American citizens, so he couldn't deport them. And no district court judge stepped in back then in the 1940s and tried to stop FDR. We looked into it. Not a single case. But it's different, of course, if you're Donald Trump. And on St. Patrick's Day, my big holiday yesterday, the CBS Evening News, who's now anchored by two men, by the way, thought it was appropriate to compare violent Venezuelan gang members living here illegally to legal Irish immigrants a century ago.
On this St. Patrick's Day, as millions of Americans celebrate their Irish heritage, recent events remind us that the Irish were among the first immigrants to be targeted in deportation crackdowns.
In the mid-1800s, New York and Massachusetts enforced policies to have Irish immigrants rounded up and deported.
The American...
Again, we're deporting criminals, and these crazy media outlets are saying, now they're just like they tried to deport regular Irish people. It's the same thing. Guys, please let me know. Are we living in reality? Are these people living in reality? Are there pigs flying? Like, what the heck's going on? I mean, I know MAGA is winning, but this is just insane. Thank you so much, Stephen Morgan, for the super chat. You are amazing. Let's go, brother. You're amazing. Y'all show Stephen some love in the chat, because you know what? What I love is what I'm showing you on the screen. Secretary Kristi Noem is about to lay the smackdown on these people that are falsely swatting and putting people's conservative media voices at risk. Guys, trust me. I've thought about this. This could happen to me. We're not that small anymore. We got 165,000 subscribers on this channel. And I would hate for this to happen to me, where somebody falsely accuses us, they're saying now that she's saying that we are going to we're going to track down, and we're going to hunt these cowards down. Look at this right here in the middle. We're going to hunt these cowards down because they have put people at risk falsely. And these are just conservative media voices. And I'm so happy, because if we don't set the example, they're going to keep doing it. And I'm telling you what, the more and more that they lose their minds on the left side, it's just going to show that Donald Trump was right all along. Even on this, guys, check this out.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's causing the speed bumps, frankly. I mean, the way to do what he's doing is send in your shock troops, as you call them, make your list, put the justifications together, present it to Congress, and then let everybody know, so Congress knows that we're all aware of what they've been presented with. Instead, this is kind of like the weakness of what you guys put together to me, is that you go off half-cocked, you get the numbers wrong, he attacks Social Security, he blames it for our deficit, which makes no sense. You and I both know that's crazy talk. And that's why I ask you about why Musk is in there. You used to be a little bit more muscular against him. I feel like I'm seeing a Bannon 2.0 kind of gentler vibe.
On these big issues, I've always supported what he's doing on DOGE. Let me go back. This also gets back to this unitary theory of the executive that this idea we've been pushing, that President Trump is the chief executive officer of the government. He's commander-in-chief of the armed forces, also chief magistrate and chief law enforcement officer. And I realize that causes heads to blow up, like when he goes to the Justice Department on Friday. But in Elon Musk's case, the president has, and I think you're going to see coming forward, the ability to impound money. Our theory of the case is that the appropriations bill, which is law, is the ceiling, is the ceiling of what you can spend. And the president can make a unitary decision to not spend that much or to reprogram it. I understand that's going to be hotly contested in the courts and probably controversial. It would go to the Supreme Court.
But so you litigate it. And I'm fine with all of that. Now, here's the first thing I need you to help me understand. I don't buy the... Now, full disclosure, Steve, I don't know how much you've been following me here at News Nation. I did not like the New York cases against President Trump. I took a lot of shite for that, but that's I sign up for that.
We follow you closely, Chris, so we know your stand on that.
I did not believe in the impeachments only because I thought you couldn't remove him. And to me, as a political operation, if you can't remove the guy, the idea of a matter of principle didn't wash with me. Okay, so that's where I am on it. That said, I don't get this. The judges, these are rogue judges. Steve, you got rid of DACA by going to one district court and starting litigation that wound up at the Supreme Court. Same thing with the individual mandate. Same thing with Biden's tuition relief. You use the same system that they're using right now with the Alien and Enemies Act. Why is this judges going after Trump? What judge wouldn't have put a hold on a removal order that's based on a 1789 or 98 law that was never intended for this? How is that judges going after Trump?
It's totally different, Chris. And by the way, I actually think more of these radical neo-Marxist judges that are working in coordination ought to be impeached and go through the process in the House. I also realize that probably none of them will be removed by the Senate, but I think go through the process. The Chief Justice of the District Court, he's stepping into President Trump's role, go back to unitary theory, as the commander-in-chief. This has already been designated a terrorist group. President Trump made a decision as commander-in-chief to get them out of the country. They've been part of an invasion. He sent them out, and the judge, and people ought to look at what he did. On Saturday, he called together, he held court. Then he's asking where the planes are. He's making command decisions that a military commander would make. He's totally outside his lane. And we, with Mike Davis, are leading the effort now to get on the judiciary, get on top of Jordan and the Judiciary Committee to actually start the process of impeaching this judge. I'm a big believer, Chris, that the process, trust the process, that I realize this judge will probably not be removed because of a trial in the Senate. But I think it's very important to have a process here where this judge is actually impeached. And no offense, when President Trump said that, Roberts came out and did nothing but have these judges' backs with, I think, a totally out of line comment he made today. It's going to make this fight even tougher.
But here's the deal. You got to help me reconcile. I get attacking your own government. I get criticizing it. I get it as a fundamental aspect of why the founders architected the First Amendment the way they did, which was redress of government. That was their real concern. You got to be able to go after it so it's not a crown. I don't understand, though, how you square patriotism and the movement with attacking the institutions. You can litigate it, but this judge, he's not taking a command position. You're assuming that this is an invasion because that's one of the trigger mechanisms under that 1798 law. But a gang coming in here just because they're from Venezuela doesn't mean they are an arm of the government or that this is part of some type of, war act as contemplated by the law. You can argue that. I'm fine with that. But you're assuming it as a matter of fact and that this guy's some kind of traitor. And I don't get how you're a patriot and attacking the institutions gratuitously at the same time.
We're not attacking institutions gratuitously. By the way, the institutions of this country, and I think this is the reason the Democrats lost, the American people understand that our institutions have to be either purged or they have to be reformed.
Yes.
Everything from the Justice Department to the FBI to the intelligence community to the Pentagon across the board. And that's what President Trump's mandate is. That's what he's doing.
You don't think that's because you guys tell them that these institutions stink all the time?
Chris, this judge is stepping in the middle of President Trump's constitutional duty as commander-in-chief. President Trump has made a decision. They're a terrorist group. He's made a decision. They're going to be expelled from the United States. They were on planes to a country that agreed to take them with a prison system.
But it's not a military. It's not a military operation.
Guys, I hope you appreciate me showing you this because, again, too, what Cuomo represents is the left. Why he's saying, why is this such a bad idea? Why are you having such a problem with this federal district judge? Like, Do y'all see like the mind process and how he truly believes what he says that he's saying? That Trump, who has designated Tren de Aragua as a terrorist group and tries to deport them, and a single federal judge is now intervening with the protection of the United States in favor of these gang members. But this guy over here sees it. But this is where you see all the different sides and you get to see what we're actually dealing with. And a lot of it is not common sense. And if you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, I appreciate that. And I appreciate every time you share these videos, guys. It really does help us to get more views and get these things out there so that we can bring the truth to everybody.
Military operation, it was ICE. It was ICE. You would basically be running into posse comitatus if you did it the way you are, which is, you wanted to militarize
it was tantamount. It was tantamount. ICE did it, but it was tantamount to a military operation to get him out of the country. It was dangerous for this judge to insert himself.
Steve,
and look at the detail. Look at the way he inserted
himself. I'm not
against
getting rid of the gangbangers. That's not my point. I keep getting beaten over the head. You want gangbangers in the country.
You guys
That's
are
not my point. It's not my position. It's not my position. You can do it a different way. You can do it a different way with due process. This is not a military situation. You need a declaration of war underneath that law to trigger its removal mechanism. That's why you're playing at this being militaristic, but it isn't.
President Trump's belief as commander-in-chief, he's done what he's needed to do in the proclamation to actually expel these invaders. They're dangerous criminals, and now the people defending them are in a horrible position of having to argue their due process rights and everything else. Let them argue it and let the American people decide. But President Trump is not going to take these people back, and he's not going to allow a judge. He's not going to allow a judge to step in between him and these decisions that are tantamount to military.
Guys, I'm telling you, like that. This is what I love, and this is like, guys. I don't know if you've been following all the JFK files, things like that, but I want to show you something because it's super, super important. But I want to say thank you so much, Andy, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, who is funding Tesla's attacks? All roads lead to Soros Foundation and leftist unions, 100%. And Paul Milloy, thank you so much for the super chat. Y'all show Paul and Andy some love in the chat. Guys, it is crazy how we can always link back a leftist, progressive, democratic style of organization that is funding all this craziness. But this is what I wanted to show you guys. I'm showing you everything. The JFK files reveal that the Soviet Union actually, and the Soviet Union, Russia, warned the United States about the upcoming JFK assassination. We literally have files that they were trying to say, hey, something is coming. They also tried to warn us about the 9/11 attacks via its intelligence agencies. And this is where, again, too, the deep state is so deep, that's why they hate what's going on, guys. This is why Trump needs to be protected. His cabinet needs to be protected. Elon Musk needs to be protected. Because everything that we know is only because that's what they want us to know. And now that we're starting to actually get all the files and get all the evidence, we're starting to say, like, holy smokes. We kind of thought everything we thought was kind of wrong. And even as we go through all these things, getting these pit bulls like Jim Jordan out there fighting to make sure that we have America first is going to be, I think, harder than anybody else expected. Check this out.
Republican Jim Jordan. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for being here.
Good to be with you, Casey.
So just want to start with a simple question. Do you believe, as President Trump does, that Judge Boasberg should be impeached?
Well, normally, as Chief Justice Roberts has pointed out, the remedy for bad decisions is the appellate court. But it seems to me you may have something a little different here. This judge's decision was so ridiculous, it seems to be political. And then when you add to it the history of Judge Boasberg, his work with the FISA court, back in the whole Trump-Russia baloney, that whole, fake collusion thing that they talked about, the Democrats talked about forever. And then, of course, his sentencing of Kevin Kleinsmith, the guy who lied to the FISA court, altered a document back during that same time frame. I think you might have here a judge who's acting in a political fashion. That is a different question. And so for us Republicans, and I think folks on the Judiciary Committee, all options are still on the table. We're going to do some research. We're going to dig into this, and we're going to find out. And then I think when you really step back, Casey, and look at how stupid the decision was by this judge, I mean, he basically said, wait, not basically, he did say, turn the plane around, bring back gang members, hardened criminals who've done all kinds of bad things, who are here illegally, turn the plane around and bring those bad guys back to the country. I think just on its face, this is ridiculous. And so it sure looks like the judge is acting in a political fashion.
I completely understand the argument that people are making about whether the planes whether these people should have been deported or not. I want to get a little bit more clarity in what you're saying. What specifically has Judge Boasberg done that you believe is an impeachable offense under the constitutional description of high crimes and misdemeanors?
All I'm saying is if you're acting in a political fashion and not just, following the law, ruling on the law, and I would argue that, frankly, just his ruling in and of itself, remember, the Constitution is pretty clear. Article 2, Section 1, very first sentence says, power in the executive branch shall be vested in a president of the United States. The president has the authority here. Second, he followed...
Is there a major body of law that shows that he would probably likely to win?
Predatory incursion, and that he followed the statute. And then third, the president told the country he was going to do this. It's not like it's a surprise to anyone, let alone this judge. He campaigned on it and said he was going to do it. So I think when you put all that together, that's what makes this decision look so political on the part of Judge Boasberg.
But Mr. Chairman, and we actually showed how many times the president said exactly that he would use this law when he was on the campaign trail. We showed our viewers some of that yesterday. So I do take that point. But given all these arguments, if you think that this is, and there is an enormous body of law out there, some of it built during the Bush administration, which I know, you were here in Washington during a lot of this, that suggests that the president actually might win this case on the merits in the longer term under the normal process. So if you're the White House, why not put that appeal through? Why not use the process that's available to you right then?
They are.
Well, there, in fact, may be an appeal process. I know we got all kinds of cases. I think 15 different cases now where there have been some federal district judge who's done some kind of injunction ruled against President Trump in just 8 weeks of him being in office. So those are all going to get challenged. You go through the appellate process. That may, in fact, happen in this particular case, too.
Sure.
All I'm saying is this judge looks different than some of the other things we have seen. And the pace that were 15, I think in the Biden administration, it was like 13 in the entire 4 years. There have been 15 of these in 8 weeks. So, again, that's a concern. It's why 2 weeks ago, the Judiciary Committee...
Guys, I don't know if you just caught what he said there. In the entire Obama administration, there was 12. In the first 8 weeks that Trump has been in office, there's already been, I think he said, 18. So think about it. These federal district judges are hammering Trump, trying to stop all of his executive orders. 18 in the first 8 weeks of Trump's presidency, and in the entire 8 years of Obama's presidency, there was only like 12 or 14. That tells you there's things that are being done differently because it's Trump.
We passed legislation which said when a federal district judge in Timbuktu, California issues an injunction, it should only apply to the parties of the case in that respective jurisdiction, not apply nationwide in some of these other cases that we're dealing with. We think that's good. We pass it through the committee. We'll try to look to pass it on the House floor and move it through the process.
Sir, let me ask you about something you said partway through your first answer, which is this question. You are in charge of the House Judiciary Committee. Do you plan to hold hearings that may look at the impeachment of Judge Boasberg or other federal judges?
We're gonna hold hearings on this entire issue. The 15 injunctions that have been done in an 8-week time frame, Judge Boasberg's decision. We plan on holding hearings, hearing from experts, talking about this whole body of law, this whole situation. Again, everything is on the table. We're considering all options. That's why we passed legislation. There may be another legislative remedy we want to look at. But we do think it's important for us to gather information, get input on this issue. We're looking next week having a hearing in one of our subcommittees. We're not ruling out anything. I never do that.
Do you think it'd be politically risky to hold impeachment hearings for judges, considering the incredibly narrow House majority?
Look, I'm not saying we're going to go there. All I'm saying is I think this is a concern. Judge Boasberg has raised concerns with us, Republicans on the Judiciary Committee, Republicans in general over the years. When you go back and look at the whole FISA situation, remember what happened there, where the Comey FBI took a dossier that was paid for by the Clinton campaign, hiring the law firm Perkins Coie, who hired Fusion GPS, who hired a foreigner, Christopher Steele, who wrote this bogus document full of all kinds of falsehoods. The Comey FBI took that document to the FISA court, and they got warrants to go spy on the other party's presidential campaign. And Judge Boasberg was a part of letting that happen. And then one of the guys who lied to the court, Kevin Kleinsmith.
Did you hear that? So the same judge that was in part with the Steele dossier, the Russian collusion hoax, the Hillary campaign that was involved with that is now involved with trying to keep Trump from deporting gang members. Guys, they're all freaking connected. This is not by coincidence. If you appreciate this reporting, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, this is 100% not by coincidence, and I hope so many people see this and they know that they are trying to weaponize the government against Trump again.
Got a slap on the wrist for actually altering a document in front of that secret court, and now he comes out with this decision, and we're not supposed to look at that? Of course we're going to look at that. You'd be crazy not to. So we're going to look at that, but all options are on the table, legislative and anything else, and that is the approach we're taking as we begin to hear from experts in hearings we plan to have over the next several weeks.
Have you spoken with President Trump about this?
I've not. I mean, I talk to him on a very regular basis, but I've not spoken to him about this particular issue.
Guys, let me tell you this. The one thing that, again, I don't care what anybody says. It's always going to boil down to the money. The reason that they're fighting, the reason that there's so much warfare that we're seeing at the judicial stage within the Democratic Party, within the Republicans versus the Democrats and all this is because of the money. Because shutting down USAID has stopped the gravy train to the Democrats and their pet projects. ActBlue is being investigated right now. Let me go ahead and just show you that right now. So this right here was this is from Data Republican, unearthed last night that at least 9 $2 donations went to the Democrat candidates with my name and my address on the donation. So this person has now showing the actual evidence that somebody he donated to the Democratic Party towards people, and these are small donations. But let me tell you this. Imagine if this was done automatically by an AI robot or something like that. Imagine using 500,000 people donating $2 a piece. Now we're talking about billions of dollars. But this is all a huge scandal that they are unearthing because we're actually being able to investigate into the ActBlue. We are 100% catching them on all the scandalous things that they've been doing to generate money. And what I'm about to show you next is that the Democrats are falling apart. And this guy is literally one of the front runners for being the presidential candidate in 2028 because of his common sense. But listen to this guy who's usually a sports commentator who is now getting into the politics, and people are loving him because he's just common sense. But he literally even calls out his own staff over their craziness with the left Democrats. Check this out.
I got a story to tell the Democratic Party. Are you ready for this? Rather than telling us what we should vote against, maybe you should present us with options of what to vote for. Just a thought. I mean, my God, are you okay, Michael, with me suggesting that? Are you okay with me, Sherry, suggesting that? Rashawn, Galen, and all of the bunch of leftists that's under my umbrella trying to act like they're independents when they're full of it? I'm talking about my whole damn staff.
Dang.
I can say it with love and affection because I don't mind. I'm a centrist. I think my man Rashawn is a centrist. The rest of these damn people working for me, I mean, what left-wing party are you associated with? I mean, you got to believe this stuff. You got to listen to it to hear it. I'm going to say it again. Rather than come to folks with what to vote against, how about telling us what we should vote for?
Guys, let me tell you, I just hope he runs because he is hilarious. He will call everybody out. Doesn't matter who they. He said, my own dang staff who think they're a bunch of centrists, but just left-wing crazy. Guys, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. But again, too, remember how I talked about the USAID? It's always going back to the money, guys. And now we've got a federal judge who is trying to tell Trump to reinstate USAID. And guess what? He's a Democrat. Listen to this.
You know what he should do? He should really look at where the money went. They don't ever want to do that, because when you see where the money went and the scams, you don't even have to see anything. Just look at the heading and the scam that they've created. And a judge like him will never look at that.
The judges strike again. A district court blocking DOGE's shutdown of USAID, and that's just for starters. Take a look at everything held up just yesterday, stopping the EPA from rescinding $20 billion in climate grants, denying an order excluding transgenders from the military, and they want to keep migrant criminals in America.
He actually said we shouldn't be able to take criminals, killers, murderers, horrible, the worst people, gang members, gang leaders, that we shouldn't be allowed to take them out of our country. Well, that's a presidential job. That's not for a local judge to be making that determination. I think at a certain point, you have to start looking at what do you do when you have a rogue judge?
All right, so we knew we were going to get big legal battles with all this, Jackie, but I feel like these injunctions you're seeing, right? Temporary or nationwide or whatever it feels like it's just run amok at this point. Do you agree?
Yes and no. We did expect it, and I think this is part of the legal system as it plays out. So the first thing President Trump did in the case of the district judge who said basically that USAID needs to be reinstated right now, he said, we're going to appeal, and they are going to appeal. That U.S. district judge basically said that there were a couple of constitutional violations with the way Musk and DOGE were shutting that agency down, and that basically they would have to reinstate everything right now. And that's what a temporary injunction is. It sort of is able to block harm in the interim while you get to the main decision, whatever that ends up being. And so I think this is par for the course. I think the administration fully expected this. You've got to start somewhere by putting your foot down and saying, okay, here's what we're going to do, and then let the process play out. I'm not concerned about this at all. If you think about President Trump and how the Department of Justice attacked him, and he basically appealed everything, he followed the legal procedure, he proved them all to be wrong, basically, at the end of the day. And so ultimately, I think we'll find this as well. We knew it was going to take a little time, is my point.
Okay, so Taylor, it sounds like what Jackie's saying is a lot of this is going to run its way up to the Supreme Court.
Yep.
And there you're going to start getting down to brass tacks because, as the non-lawyer, okay, to me it looks like a question of who gets to make policy in America constitutionally?
Boom.
Is it Congress and the executive? Or is it the judicial branch? And I would just argue, I don't think the Constitution gives the judicial branch any scope for policy making.
Well, what I can't figure out, and everyone on the panel, feel free to jump in if I'm off here, I didn't hear a peep from judges when we were spending billions on USAID.
That's what I said.
When we were spending billions of waste, fraud, and abuse that DOGE is trying.
Guys, sorry to interrupt, but that's what I said when I said, hold up. How in the world do we got over 800 federal district judges, and you got to know at least half of them are going to be Republican, and not a dang one of them tried to stop any of this wasteful spending? Where were they at? Like, I'm trying to ask the question, but now we're starting to see that they can literally control the executive branch, supposedly.
A fix when we were opening up the borders and letting all the illegal immigrants, criminals into the border. But now I'm hearing from the judges when we're trying to reverse the problem. So either way, I just want consistency. If a judge doesn't weigh in when they cross the border, why are they weighing in when we're deporting them? If a judge isn't weighing in when we're spending billions of dollars on USAID and people don't know where the money is going, why are they weighing in when then we're pulling back the money? That's what I can't understand.
Think about the reality of what's going to happen here during the injunction period. if you've targeted a division of some government agency and they know they're getting whacked, the attrition rate's going to go up to 50% while the injunction's in place. Your job is not safe. It's just being debated on its way to the Supreme Court. So you're going to get a lot of people leaving these jobs anyways. And I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing. It's just once it's targeted, once it's out there, once it's public that a judge would rule on it, an injunction, and you're there thinking to myself, I got to get a job because I'm getting whacked one way or the other. I think it doesn't change anything. It just delays a little bit. And some of these whacking policies were 20 weeks anyways. So this will get accelerated up into the Supreme Court, get decided pretty quickly. DOGE is going to keep going because most people, pragmatic people on both sides of the aisle say, this is a good thing.
Yep.
And it's just, I know it's contentious, but my goodness, this doesn't change anything.
Is it death by 1,000 paper cuts? I mean, is that their hope? I know Kevin thinks DOGE is not going to slow down, but it feels like that's actually what they're trying to do. 1 million lawsuits to keep this from happening before 2026.
Yeah.
Well, I fully believe that President Trump and Elon Musk and everyone involved in this noble effort knew that the lawsuits would come and come quickly. That was they're playing not just chess, but they're playing chess and polo and golf and 800 other endeavors while the left is playing checkers. The similarity between these judges and these government workers is their belief system or their sense of self. It's like these government workers think their jobs are sacred, and these judges clearly think because they wear robes that they're saintly. And speaking of this was completely expected, here's just one of the judges. The federal judge who indefinitely blocked the executive order barring transgender people from serving openly in the military. Right. The one who argued that the idea that there are only two sexes is not, quote, biologically correct. This individual, this federal judge, has a long history of activism in the Democrat Party, volunteered for Joe Biden and donated tens of thousands of dollars to Democrat campaigns. And some of this was known, but we're talking about $38,000 to Democrat causes since 2008. That's a pretty penny.
Yeah.
ActBlue, Democrat Senator John Ossoff's campaign got some coin and then maxed out contributions to Biden's 2020 presidential campaign. This is all according to FEC records. But defeat by tweet, a Democrat-aligned super PAC supports the Justice Fund. I could go on and on, but we're talking about a left-winger dyed in the wool, this particular judge. So, of course, this is what they're going to do.
Guys, and again, too, it's always going to go back to the money. It's always going to go back to how deep of the money that's being affected. Like right here on the screen, President Trump suspends approximately $175 million in federal funding to UPenn over the policy allowing men to compete in women's sports. This is, again, we have to be strong, backbone, because they're going to fight at every single avenue. And again, too, we're going to see, because remember, Pennsylvania is going to be a big one for the midterms. This is going to affect a lot of people. This may affect a lot of votes. But what matters most is that common sense prevails and that everybody gets to see how crazy these people are getting. San Woo, welcome to the family. Let's go. Y'all show San Woo some love in the chat. But I'm glad that Trump is holding to his word. He said, hey, if you violate this, we're not going to give you any federal money. And I'm super happy because I hope they do that when it comes to the sanctuary city status, because we get billions and billions of dollars there as well. But what I want you to hear next, guys, is again, just like they've been saying, so what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Congress is now getting involved. Jim Jordan's involved. Josh Hawley is involved in the Senate when it comes to these rogue judicial judges. And just want to say, guys, if you appreciate this content, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, we really appreciate it. Check this out.
Joining us now is Missouri's own Josh Hawley. Senator, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Senator, you have a great background in the legal world, Attorney General of Missouri. What is your comment on this now pattern of wide-ranging, nationwide injunctions, 64 of them that have been issued against the Trump administration? Senator, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's an abuse of the Article 3 power, to be honest with you, Charlie. I just don't think that these district courts, and that's what we're talking about here. Let's just be clear so everybody listening understands. These are district courts, which are basically local federal courts, who are trying to say, okay, I'm not just going to issue an order that says what the executive branch can or cannot do inside my district. I'm going to issue an order that binds the executive branch for the entire nation. And my view is, absent some really extraordinary circumstances, that's just not a power I think district courts have. And we're seeing it on, as you said, on a mass scale. And I think what's going to happen here is, what needs to happen is one of two things. Either the Supreme Court needs to intervene and make clear there's only one court that can issue rules for the whole country. That's the Supreme Court. That's why we only have one of them. And or if they won't do that, Congress needs to legislate and make clear district courts, in the usual matter of things, do not have the ability to issue these kind of injunctions.
Do you think there is an appetite for that amongst your Senate colleagues? I know there is definitely piqued interest, but you cannot possibly have a presidency if 64 of your independent actions are not just challenged. Anyone can sue and challenge. We're not talking about that. We're talking about stopping it, enjoining it, Senator.
Yeah, and this is the problem, by the way. I mean, when you've got an injunction like this, national injunctions like this, it really takes the teeth out of appellate review. I mean, this is important to understand, because it's like, well, sure. I mean, the remedy for this is, yeah, you go appeal it. So we have an appellate system. That all works very well. We're proud of our court system. But if you can, at the district court level, if you can say, I'm just going to stop what you're doing nationally, and I'm going to keep it stopped all while you're appealing, boy, that really undermines the authority of appellate courts. It really undermines the authority of the Supreme Court. So to answer your question, Charlie, I certainly would think appetite would be growing on Capitol Hill for a reform of this kind.
Yes.
Because what we are seeing is really, it is unprecedented. We saw this in the first Trump term. We saw a number of these district courts, nationwide injunctions, but not on this scale, ranging over all of these topics. It really is a form of judicial resistance, and I think they are outside the bounds of their authority. I'm really concerned about it.
Without a doubt. And look, the way to go about this, I don't think we quite know yet. Because look, I mean, if it gets so bad, Senator, where they're going to tell the president, hey, you can't conduct foreign policy, like, are they going to say you can't end the Russian-Ukrainian war? I mean, this is potentially where we're getting after here, right? Yep. And I know that might sound extreme, but there's now 2 instances of foreign policy specified Article 2 authority, which is who's allowed to be in the military, which is the transgender decision, and also the Tren de Aragua decision. Potentially, they could enjoin the president from conducting foreign policy decisions, which would spiral things out of control. Senator, I want to get your thoughts now. Please, Senator, comment on that, please.
Well, I was just going to jump in with another quote from the Supreme Court in years past, which says that the president is the sole organ, that's the quote, sole organ of foreign policy in the United States under our Constitution. So again, let's be clear about this. What these district courts are doing is not just disregarding the written text of the Constitution. That's clear enough and bad enough. They're disregarding their own superior courts, who said over and over, when it comes to foreign affairs, for example, that's why we have an executive. That's why the founders created an executive, because you don't run foreign policy by committee. That's Congress. Congress is the power of the purse. You don't run it by court. You run it by an executive who's accountable to the people. And I'm concerned that these decisions by these lower courts are undermining that. They're disregarding Supreme Court doctrine. And if they persist in this, it's going to create a real crisis.
And guys, let me tell you this. When we look at what are we doing on our side? What is Pam Bondi doing, who's Attorney General on our side? She has put, this is her statement out today, that this is the actual document. Guys, I'm bringing the receipts. But here, let me see, make sure I'm zoomed in, so I'm good. Okay, so she put the underlying premise of these orders, including the most recent one requiring the production of these facts ex parte today at noon, is that the judicial branch is superior to the executive branch, particularly on non-legal matters involving foreign affairs and national security. The government disagrees. This is what I love. This is accountability, guys. Thank you so much, Mr. Norby, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, well, Well, we're maybe looking at a 2028 Trump run for president again. They're working on that plan. I'll vote 100% pure swamp drainer. Let's go. And thank you so much, Sean Green 2010 said we need a Trump 2028 prezi. All right, guys, let's start making the shirts. We'll get us some True Life News shirts. Trump 2028. Let's go. Y'all show Sean and Mr. Norby some love in the chat. Because let me tell you this, guys. You thought they've kind of pulled back a little bit on the Autopen? Well, something resurfaced again. It's getting deeper. It's getting worser for the Democrats and for the Biden administration. Listen to this.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a correction on so much of what I was talking about the other day. I apologize. I was not aware of the extent of the Autopen scandal. My assumption, based on reports I had read and commentary, and this is my fault, was that Autopen in the Biden Autopen scandal referred to apps that you could apply your signature. And I'd seen so much commentary on this, I didn't actually look into it. Now that the story's breaking, we are talking about quite literally a machine that holds the pen. This is not digital. So let me give you the quick breakdown of the story. Trump the other day claimed that Joe Biden's pardons are void because they were signed via Autopen. Now the corporate press is running these stories saying Donald Trump admits to using Autopen. Now, the first commentary I saw on this was people generally just saying it was being signed with an app like DocuSign. And so I didn't even think about it. New reports have come out, and I've actually been digging into the story, and shocked as I was to discover, for those that don't know, Joe Biden arguably signed almost every single document using a machine that it's got arms. I kid you not. I did not know this. It's a literal machine that holds a pen, and you press play, and the pen moves on paper to make it seem like it's actually a wet signature. And that was another issue with this, was that all of the commentary presented made it seem as though they were talking about using apps like DocuSign. And even other commentary said the pardons must have a wet signature, as if to imply ink was not used. Ink was used. According to the Heritage Foundation investigation, when some of these documents were, quote, signed by Joe Biden using a machine, he was not in Washington. Now, the argument before this, everybody was acting like, again, it was an app, is, so was he on the phone? Was he on a tablet? How was he signing these documents digitally? No, my friends. I'm going to show you the video, and I was shocked to find when the narrative initially was Joe Biden used Autopen. It did not seem so scandalous to me. It was a scandal, of course, because we don't trust that Joe Biden's actually doing presidential deeds and duties. Donald Trump comes out and says they're void. And the argument was, again, the argument that I largely saw on X, we are not sure that Joe Biden signed these because they were signed using some kind of digital service or app. No. That was way wrong. We don't know that Joe Biden signed this because they weren't signed at all. Now, of course, liberals are going to come at me and say, Barack Obama started it, Donald Trump did it too, Biden did it. I don't think any of them should be allowed to do this.
Nope.
This, in my view, is
It's disqualifying, guys. Because again, too, whenever we're dealing with the President of the United States, the most powerful person arguably in the world, and his signature can pretty much do almost anything, it needs to be done in person. Because Trump said, now we've got leaked news that President Trump is to sign the executive order to end the Department of Education tomorrow. Guys, there is people that are going nuts over this. But again, it's not that they're doing away with the money. They're just giving it to the states instead of having unelected bureaucrats telling the entire country how things should be. Getting paid, listen, average teacher salary, $40,000 to $50,000. They have some salaries that are being paid to people in the Department of Education upwards of $600,000. Now, you tell me, is that fair? You tell me, is that money well spent? Not even close. Mr. Norby said, thank you for everyone who can share and donate here to the family. Let's go. And thank you so much, Sean Green. He said, for sure, shirts and coffee cups. Trump 28. Let's go. Y'all show Sean Green and Mr. Norby some love in the chat. Hey, we're going to get some hats too. Because I'm telling you what, if Trump runs in 2028, guys, not only will there be a meltdown in the entire Democratic Party, like it will be so big, so crazy, nobody would be able to fathom it. But again, we are democracy, and if the people want a person, they should be able to vote for that person, right? FDR was the only reason we got the amendment added so that that's only 2 terms can be served. So now we're seeing what's going to happen. But again, one of the things that Trump is doing to solidify his legacy as one of the greatest presidents ever, right here.
$1 trade deficit. China has like a $300 billion last year. You said it goes up to, when you add it all up, it's $1 trillion.
Way over 100, Canada. And here's my problem with Canada. Canada was meant to be the 51st state because we subsidize Canada by $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We have a lot of lumber. We freed it up, as you know, last week. We're freeing it up so that you can actually cut down a tree without being, given the death penalty. Because what these radical environmentalists have done to our country, but we freed it up. But we don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything. We certainly don't want their automobiles. They make a lot of millions of automobiles are sent in. I'd rather have them made in Michigan. I'd rather have them made in South Carolina or any one of our...
But you're tougher with Canada than you are with some of our biggest adversaries.
Only because it's meant to be our 51st state. And
okay, but
but listen to this for a second.
We need their territory. They have territorial advantage. We're not going to let them get close to China.
Look, right? I deal with every country, indirectly or directly. One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada. The people that... Now, this was Trudeau. The people that good old Justin, I call him Governor Trudeau, his people were nasty. And they weren't telling the truth. They never told the truth. You know that, they'd say, well, we don't charge. Well, they do. They charge tremendous. They charge tremendous. And if you look at dairy products, what they've done to our farmers, I'd go up to Iowa, I'd go up to different places, Nebraska, and they would always complain about Canada, how they get ripped off. Do you know that Canada has a 250% tariff? 250, nobody knows that. They charge us numbers that are crazy. We have a very big deficit with Canada, and there's no reason, much more, we have much more. Just so you understand, we subsidize Canada, and I like Canada.
Let me tell you this. Laura Ingraham right now is getting a little combative, maybe a little bit too much. But again, too, what are they trying to get? They're trying to get the ratings. But let me know what you think about that because, yeah, Ruby Kempa, she needs to kind of chill out.
Love Canada. I love Wayne
now
Gretzky.
The liberal guys,
I love his wife.
The liberal party is going to win now in the next election, most likely. And they were down and out. Isn't that going to make them more hostile to us and possibly
I'd rather deal with a liberal than a
for China closer to Canada, and that would really put us in a bind.
The conservative that's running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things. So when he says negative things, I couldn't care less. I think it's easier to deal actually with a liberal. And maybe they're going to win, but I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me at all.
So your end game is what with them?
My end game is I don't want to have a big deficit. I don't want to see the United States of America, and you say 60 and I say 200, but it doesn't matter. I don't want us to pay 60 or 200 billion dollars to a country that if they were a state, think of this, it would be our biggest, most beautiful, it would be great. This state, it would be cherished. We'd take care of it. The people would pay half what they're paying right now. Canada pays very little for defense. They think we're going to defend them.
We protect them.
What?
We protect them.
We protect them. We protect them. Do you know in NATO they pay less than anybody else? In everything else, they go, we're in the process of buying 48 icebreakers. All of a sudden I see Canada's involved where they're going to get a piece of them. I say, what are they paying? So I got tired of it. Here's the story. I had one of the most successful economies. I had the most successful economy in the history of our country in my first 4 years. We did a great job. largest tax cuts ever, largest everything. We had right to try, where people were able to use drugs. Stupidly, for many years, they weren't able to use, the far-reaching drugs because they weren't approved yet. Somebody's terminally ill, they couldn't do it. With me, they can do it. We did so many things. We rebuilt our military. Canada doesn't pay for military. They don't give any, they give us nothing. And they are the worst people to negotiate with of everybody.
Yeah, with USMCA, you finally got them around the edge on that, though. You got
No, I got them there, and USMCA is good, but they cheat. An agreement's good, but they cheat. And Mexico cheats also.
But China cheated on your 2019.
Can I tell you what?
Phase one, they totally cheated and dropped it with Biden. You had a great deal.
When Biden took over, he didn't push them. I would call up once every 2 weeks saying you're not living up to the agreement, and they'd buy more corn, more this. So the most we ever did was $15 billion with China, the farmers and everything, and manufacturing.
Yeah.
I had them up to $50 billion, and they were doing it. When Biden got it, do you think Biden called up President Xi and said, you're screwing us?
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Guys, let me
hey,
tell you
click
this.
here to...
Not a trade deficit. China has...
Not at all. Biden didn't hold anybody accountable. Trump does. And that's what makes everything matter. Is that we're not getting screwed over by these other countries. We're not going to get screwed over by NATO. We're not going to get screwed over by Mexico or Canada, who partook in allowing so much fentanyl that came into our country. Trump is doing something about it. I want to say thank you to everybody who is watching, all of our subscribers, guys. Appreciate you so much. If you're not subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Let me take care of you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, guys, y'all are the best. I love serving y'all every day with the top news. We want to bring you every single news from all different perspectives, from all different breaking news, so that you're informed. We're not just a one news show type of channel. We want to show you from CNN, from other podcasters, from articles that are coming through, because that's what matters. Getting all the most important information and then consolidating and then being able to know what's actually going on. And that's what we want to do for you. We want to say thank you to all of our members. Thank you to all of our those that have given a super chat today. Want to give some love to Stephen Morgan, Andy, Paul Malloy, San Wu, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Sean Green. Guys, show them some love in the chat. We love you so much. We're here to serve you, guys. And just want to again say thank you from the bottom of my heart, from my family. We're so grateful that we can take care of you every day. We love you. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.